The champagne glass shattered against white marble with a sound like a gunshot. 300 heads turned in unison, diamonds catching light, conversations dying mid-syllable. Sienna Ashworth's tray hit the floor a heartbeat later, crab cakes scattering like shrapnel across the Drake Hotel ballroom. She was already moving, heels skidding on polished stone, diving between the screaming woman and the terrified old lady whose knees were buckling toward the unforgiving ground. Her arms caught Vivian Thorne before impact. The elderly woman weighed nothing, all bird bones and papery skin beneath vintage Halston that smelled of lavender and fear. Sienna pulled her close, shielding her from the rage radiating off Clarissa Montgomery like heat from asphalt in August. The Funyan Tuangi Si's face had gone purple. A vein pulsed in her temple, visible even through professional makeup that cost more than Sienna's monthly rent. Red wine dripped from her white Oscar de la Renta gown, each drop worth more than the hourly wage Sienna would never collect now that her employment had just ended in spectacular fashion. "Don't you dare touch her." The words came out steadier than Sienna felt. Her heart hammered against ribs that knew better than to antagonize women who lunched with senators and destroyed careers before breakfast. But Vivian was trembling like a sparrow in a storm, and something in that fragility bypassed every survival instinct Sienna possessed. Clarissa blinked, stared at the waitress who just spoken to her like an equal. Disbelief gave way to fury, so pure it seemed to shimmer in the air between them. "Excuse me? Do you know who I am?" High above on the mezzanine balcony, Dominic Thorne watched the scene unfold with the detached interest of a man observing pieces moving on a chessboard he controlled. His Tom Ford suit absorbed shadows, making him part of the darkness that clung to the ornate architecture like smoke. No drink in his hand, no expression on his face, just those dark eyes cataloging exits, counting bodyguards, calculating angles of attack that would never be needed because he owned the building, the block, and most of the people standing in it. Reaper's voice crackled in his earpiece, professional concern wrapped in Southside vowels. "Boss," Mrs. Thorne wandered from the VIP lounge. Nurse Morrison lost track of her again. Dominic's fingers tightened on the brass railing. The metal groaned, but didn't give. Below, his mother stood in a stranger's arms, confused eyes searching for something that existed only in memories corrupted by disease. Early onset dementia at 68, stealing pieces of her faster than he could fortify the walls around what remained. "Find Morrison. When I'm done with the guests, she and I are having words." He should descend the stairs now. Extract his mother from this situation before it escalated. End the evening with apologies and enough money to make Clarissa Montgomery forget she'd ever been inconvenienced. Standard protocol for damage control. Instead, he stayed perfectly still. 300 people filled the ballroom. Tuxedos that cost more than cars. Jewelry that required insurance riders. Watches that marked time in increments of inherited wealth. Not a single one had moved to help. They stood frozen in their designer shoes, phones emerging from pockets to record disaster. Because watching someone else's humiliation was entertainment when you'd never experienced consequences yourself. "Show me," Dominic thought. "Show me which of you has a spine." Below, Clarissa's hand rose for the slap that would teach this presumptuous waitress about Chicago's social hierarchy. Vivian whimpered, small sound of animal terror that cut through champagne buzz and murmured commentary. Still, nobody moved. Then the waitress spoke again, and her voice carried the flat vowels of Old South Side, the kind of Chicago accent that predated gentrification in artisanal coffee shops. "I don't give a damn who you are. She's confused. She's scared. And you're bullying an old woman over a piece of cloth? You got no shame?" Dominic's entire body went rigid. That accent, those specific cadences, he'd heard them exactly once in the last decade, from his mother during one of her increasingly rare lucid moments, when she slipped back into the speech patterns of 1940s Bridgeport. The old neighborhood, the old ways. Dead language from dead streets that existed now only in the memories of the dying. Who was this girl? Gasps rippled through the crowd like wind through wheat. A waitress had just lectured Clarissa Montgomery, wife of Senator Montgomery, woman who'd ended careers with phone calls and destroyed reputations with whispers. Social suicide broadcast live to 300 witnesses. Mr. Patterson materialized, the Drake's general manager sweating through his collar despite the climate control that kept the ballroom at a perfect 68 degrees. Mrs. Montgomery, I am profoundly sorry for this disruption. This employee will be terminated immediately and fire her. Clarissa's shriek made champagne flutes ring in sympathetic vibration. And throw this senile bitch onto Michigan Avenue where she belongs. The waitress's grip on Vivian tightened, protective, defiant, doomed. It's okay. Her voice dropped to something meant only for Vivian. I got you. Ain't nobody gonna hurt you, sweetheart. The old Southside accent again. Not performance, not affectation, real. Dominic moved. He descended the grand staircase with the unhurried pace of inevitability. Each step silent despite Italian leather that cost $1,800. The crowd parted without conscious thought, bodies responding to predator instinct before brains caught up. A circle formed around the three women, empty space that nobody dared cross. Clarissa's hand froze mid-slap when she saw him. The fury drained from her face, replaced by fear so naked it would have been pathetic if Dominic cared enough to feel pity. He didn't. He stopped 3 feet from the waitress. She flinched, eyes squeezing shut, bracing for violence, expecting it, prepared to take it if it meant Vivian stayed safe. Interesting. Dominic pulled his pocket square free. White silk monogram with initials nobody could see in the ballroom's golden light. He reached toward the waitress slowly, giving her time to understand he wasn't striking. Her eyes opened, met his, held despite the fear he could smell coming off her in waves. He dabbed champagne from her cheek with movements careful enough for surgery. What's your name? Her throat worked, swallowing, finding breath. Sienna Ashworth. Irish surname. That tracked with the accent. He filed the information automatically, cross-referencing against databases he maintained in his head, the way other men remembered sports statistics. Ma. Vivian's face transformed. Confusion evaporated. Recognition flooded back. His mother saw him, really saw him, for the first time in 3 days. Dominic, this girl caught me. I was falling and she caught me. I know, Ma. I saw. He kept his eyes on Sienna Ashworth while he spoke, watching her process that she just saved the mother of Chicago's most dangerous man, watching her understand that she was either about to die or experience something much worse than death. Then Dominic turned to Clarissa Montgomery, and the temperature in the ballroom dropped 10 degrees. Mrs. Montgomery, his voice carried no anger, no threat, just cold certainty that made Clarissa's designer heels take an involuntary step backward. Seems you've mistaken my mother for someone who tolerates disrespect. Mr. Thorne, I didn't know she was your... And you've mistaken this young woman for someone without protection. He stepped into Clarissa's personal space, close enough to smell her fear mixing with wine and expensive perfume. Close enough to see the moment she understood that social connections meant nothing when you'd threaten what he valued most. You just humiliated the woman who gave me life, and you assaulted the only person in this room with enough spine to stand up to you. Clarissa's mouth opened, closed, opened again without sound. Dominic turned to Patterson without breaking eye contact with Clarissa. Mrs. Montgomery is leaving. Now. Mr. Thorne, certainly we can, and if she's ever allowed into any establishment I own in this city, Dominic leaned close, whispered directly into Patterson's ear, I'll buy the building and raise it to bare concrete, with you locked inside. We clear? Patterson went pale enough to match the tablecloths. Crystal clear, Mr. Thorne. Security materialized from shadows. 2 men in black suits with hands that knew their business. They flanked Clarissa with professional efficiency. "You can't do this. My husband will—" "Your husband," Dominic said, "will do exactly nothing if he wants the Commerce Committee votes I control. Enjoy your evening, Clarissa." They escorted her out through kitchen doors, her protests fading into the clatter of dishes and the hum of industrial refrigeration. The crowd remained frozen. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. 300 people holding collective breath. Dominic removed his jacket. $7,000 of tailored perfection that still held body heat. He draped it over Sienna Ashworth's shoulders, swallowing her small frame in fabric that smelled of cedar and gunpowder residue from the range he'd visited that morning. "You're not fired, Sienna Ashworth." Her confusion was genuine. Pretty, if he cared about such things. "Matter of fact, you just got promoted." He offered his arm to Vivian. His mother took it, muscle memory overriding dementia. Then Dominic did something that would be Chicago legend by morning. He offered his other arm to the champagne-soaked waitress. "Walk with me. We got business to discuss." Sienna stared at his extended arm like it might bite. Smart girl. In her position, Dominic would have run. But she looked at Vivian, who smiled with the sweet blankness of advanced disease, and made her choice. She took his arm. They walked through absolute silence, 300 faces watching, 300 phones recording. By midnight, the footage would circulate through Chicago's power structure like blood through a dying body, carrying news that Dominic Thorne had claimed a nobody waitress as his own. The implications would terrify anyone smart enough to understand them. Outside, Lake Michigan wind cut through January cold that turned breath to frost. Dominic's armored Escalade waited, black paint reflecting sodium streetlights in shades of amber and threat. Reaper held the rear door open, his scarred face expressionless, but eyes sharp, cataloging the girl the way he'd catalog a weapon. Dominic handed Vivian inside first. She went willingly, already humming something from the 40s, melody without words. Then he gestured for Sienna. She hesitated on the sidewalk. "Mr. Thorne, I appreciate what you did, but I should—" "Get in the vehicle, Sienna." Not a request. She heard it in his tone, saw it in Reaper's stance, understood that the night had moved beyond her control the moment she'd chosen to intervene. She climbed inside. Dominic followed. Reaper shut the door with a sound like a bank vault closing. The privacy screen slid up, sealing them in leather and silence broken only by Vivian's humming. She held Sienna's hand, fingers gnarled with arthritis, but grip surprisingly strong. The Escalade merged into Michigan Avenue traffic. Red taillights stretched toward infinity. Chicago at night, beautiful and brutal. The city Dominic had inherited at 19 and rebuilt in his own image. "Why'd you do it?" Sienna jumped at his voice. Vivian kept humming, lost in whatever memory played behind clouded eyes. "Do what?" "Step in. You knew who Clarissa Montgomery was. Everyone knows. You knew you'd lose your job, so why risk it for a stranger?" Sienna looked at their joined hands. Vivian's grip, the physical proof that sometimes you couldn't walk away from people who needed you. "She reminded me of my grandma Moira. She had dementia too. End stages. People treated her like she was already dead, like she wasn't a person anymore just because her mind was going." Her eyes came up, met his, held despite fear that made her pupils wide and dark. "It ain't right. Nobody deserves to be humiliated just because they're confused." Dominic studied her. Really looked the way he looked at contracts before signing or enemies before eliminating. She was 20-something, cheap shoes worn at the heels, red knuckles from commercial dish soap that ate skin faster than minimum wage could afford lotion, hollow cheeks that spoke of missed meals, the kind of poor that didn't show up on credit reports because credit required stability she'd never known. But her spine stayed straight, chin up, eyes defiant. Fire, he thought. She's got actual fire. "You got courage, Sienna Ashworth. I respect that." He pressed the intercom button. Privacy screen slid down 6 inches. "Reaper, take us home." "Yes, boss." The screen rose again. Sienna's breath caught. "Home? Mr. Thorne, I can't." "Dominic." "What?" "Call me Dominic, and you can. You will. We got things to discuss that don't happen in restaurants or hotels where people listen through walls." "I have to get home. My brother Finn, he's waiting. He gets worried." "Already handled. Reaper sent someone to your apartment 40 minutes ago. Finn knows you're safe. He's got a phone to call you. Guard outside your door to make sure nobody bothers him." Color drained from her face. "You sent men to my apartment? How do you even know where I live? How do you know about Finn?" Dominic smiled. No warmth in it. "I know everything, Sienna. By the time you walked out of that ballroom, I had your entire life on my phone. Where you live, where you work, what you owe, what you need. That's how I survive. Information. Always." She pressed back against leather upholstery, fight or flight instinct screaming at her to run from the predator sitting 3 feet away in a $1,000 shirt. "I'm not going to hurt you." His voice gentled, fractionally, enough that Vivian stopped humming and looked at him with sudden clarity. "Dominic, are you being nice to someone?" "Yeah, Ma, being nice." "That's new." Vivian patted Sienna's hand. "He's usually terrifying, but he's a good boy. Takes care of his mother." "I try, Ma." Lucid moments never lasted. Vivian's eyes fogged again. The humming resumed. Billie Holiday this time. Sienna recognized it. "Strange Fruit," the song about lynchings and blood on leaves. Her grandmother had played it on vinyl that scratched and popped with age. The Escalade turned off Michigan Avenue, west through neighborhoods that got progressively darker, buildings giving way to brownstones that gave way to estates hidden behind walls. Lake Forest, where Chicago's old money bred with Chicago's new money and produced offspring that controlled the city like a family business. Iron gates swung open automatically. The vehicle crunched over gravel that had been imported from somewhere expensive. The house beyond defied easy description. Not mansion, not castle, something between, all gray stone and sharp angles that suggested defense more than comfort. Lights blazed in every window. Guards patrolled with German shepherds that looked more wolf than domestic. Cameras tracked the Escalade's approach with mechanical precision. "Welcome home," Dominic said. The words landed heavy as prophecy. Inside, marble floors stretched toward infinity. Crystal chandeliers hung from ceilings 2 stories high. Art that belonged in museums lived on walls painted colors Sienna couldn't name. Everything whispered wealth so old it had forgotten its origins. A woman in nurse's scrubs waited in the foyer. Latina, 40s, eyes that had seen too much to be surprised by anything. Mrs. Thorne, her voice carried professional warmth. "Let's get you to bed." Vivian went willingly, already half asleep on her feet. She paused to kiss Sienna's cheek. "Thank you, dear. Will you come back tomorrow?" She'll be here, Ma. Sleep well." The nurse led Vivian upstairs. Their footsteps faded. Silence rushed back in, thick enough to suffocate. Dominic gestured toward double doors. "This way." The library smelled of leather and old smoke and money that multiplied itself through compound interest across generations. A fire burned in a fireplace large enough to roast a pig. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves held first editions, worth more than most people earned in lifetimes. Dominic walked to a bar cart that probably cost more than Sienna's entire apartment building. "Bourbon? I don't drink." Smart. He poured himself 2 fingers of Maker's Mark anyway. "Most people who say that are lying. You're not. Another point in your favor." He sat in a leather chair that had molded itself to his shape over years of use, gestured to the chair opposite. Sienna sat because standing felt like challenging him, and she'd used up her daily allotment of challenges in the ballroom. "Here's my situation." Dominic sipped bourbon, savored it. "Ma's got early onset dementia. Started 3 years ago. Mild at first, now it's accelerating. Most days she thinks she's 25, working at her mother's restaurant in Bridgeport. Sometimes she knows me. Sometimes I'm a stranger. Sometimes I'm my father, dead 15 years. He set the glass down with controlled precision. I've hired 6 specialists, neurologists, psychiatrists, gerontologists. They give her pills that do nothing. They monitor decline with charts and graphs. They're professional, competent, completely useless at the only thing that matters, which is making her happy, even for an hour, even for a moment. Sienna heard the grief under his words, buried deep, controlled, but there. So here's my offer. Dominic pulled an iPad from the side table, swiped, turned it to face her. Spend 1 hour with Ma tonight. Get her calm enough to eat dinner. Get her to remember one happy memory, just one. Do that and I pay your rent for 6 months. $15,000. Cash. Tonight. The number hit Sienna like voltage. 15,000. A third of what Finn needed. A third of the transplant cost that insurance had denied 3 times. A third of keeping her brother alive. And if I can't, then you walk away. No harm. But you'll know you're not as special as you think. The challenge in his voice sparked something competitive in Sienna's chest. She'd spent 4 years invisible. 4 years cleaning up after people who didn't see her face. 4 years being nobody to everyone. What if I do better? What if she remembers 10? Dominic's smile changed, became real, showed teeth. Then I pay your rent for a year. 30,000. Sienna extended her hand. Deal. His grip was warm, firm, held exactly long enough to feel her pulse jump against his thumb. Then he stood, set his bourbon aside, and led her upstairs. Vivian's suite occupied the entire south wing, bedroom larger than Sienna's apartment, bathroom with marble that glowed, windows overlooking Lake Michigan's black expanse. The nurse had already left. Vivian sat in a rocking chair by the window, hands twisting the fabric of her nightgown into knots. Ma, this is Sienna. She's gonna sit with you a while. That okay? Vivian looked up, through Dominic like he was glass. No recognition at all. Where's Maxwell? I need Maxwell. We're supposed to go dancing tonight. Maxwell, Dominic's father, dead since Dominic was 19. His jaw tightened, voice stayed level. He'll be here soon, Ma. Sienna's gonna keep you company till then. He turned to Sienna, pulled out his phone, set a timer. 1 hour. Clock starts now. The door closed behind him with a sound like finality. Sienna stood in the middle of the bedroom. Vivian rocked, hummed, stared out windows at darkness that reflected nothing back. 1 hour, one memory, $30,000. Impossible odds. Sienna took a breath, then another, crossed to the rocking chair and sat on the floor beside it. Non-threatening, small, no pressure. Mrs. Thorne? My name's Sienna. I knew someone like you once. My grandma Moira. No response. Keep trying. She used to tell me stories about old Chicago. Before the expressways. When Bridgeport was Irish and the stockyards ran blood in the streets. You remember that? Vivian's rocking slowed, just a fraction. The stockyards. Her voice came from somewhere far away. Papa worked the yards, came home smelling like death in copper pennies. First crack in the wall. Push through. My grandma said the same thing, said you could smell the yards from miles away when the wind blew east. The smell never left. Vivian's hands stilled on her nightgown. Got into the walls, the floorboards. We scrubbed and scrubbed, but it stayed. Sienna noticed the record player in the corner, turntable that looked older than she was, stack of vinyl beside it. She stood slowly, crossed to it, started reading spines. Billie Holiday, Ella Fitzgerald, Miles Davis, Sarah Vaughan. The music her grandmother had loved. Sienna pulled Billie Holiday, Lady in Satin, placed it carefully on the turntable. The needle dropped with a scratch. Then Billie's voice filled the room, bourbon-soaked and heartbroken, singing about love that died before it could bloom. Vivian stopped rocking, turned her head, stared at Sienna like she'd just performed a miracle. "You know Billy." Not a question. An accusation of intimacy, of understanding something precious. "Yes, ma'am. My grandma Moira, she played Billy every Sunday morning, in our kitchen in Pilsen. She said Billy sang with her soul, not just her voice." "Mama said the same thing." Vivian's eyes cleared, sharpened, came into focus with the abruptness of windows opening. "Mama played this exact record. Sunday mornings after Mass, the smell was always—" She trailed off, losing the thread. Sienna needed an anchor, something physical to ground the memory. Her eyes fell on the fruit bowl, decorative lemons. She grabbed one, dug her thumbnail into the peel. Citrus oil released sharp and clean. Sienna held it under Vivian's nose. "Sunday morning lemon pancakes?" The effect was instantaneous. "Lemon pancakes!" Vivian grabbed Sienna's wrist. "Mama made them every Sunday. Real maple syrup from that place on Clark Street. We'd sit at the kitchen table, linoleum peeling at the edges, and she'd tell me about County Cork, about leaving Ireland on a boat that smelled like vomit in desperation." The memories came faster, tumbling over each other like water breaking through a dam. My wedding day, August 15th, 1979, St. Michael's Church. My dress was ivory lace. Maxwell stepped on my foot during our first dance and laughed so hard he cried. First time holding Dominic, 8 pounds, 4 ounces. Perfect fingers, perfect toes. He didn't cry, just looked at me with those dark eyes like he already knew all my secrets. Maxwell proposed on Navy Pier, fireworks going off over the lake. I said yes before he finished asking. The brownstone on Ashland Avenue, red door, white shutters, roses that never bloomed right because the soil was too sandy. Dancing at our anniversary, 25 years, silver. Maxwell whispered in my ear that I was still the prettiest girl in Chicago. The night Maxwell died, Dominic held me all night, 19 years old, just a boy, had to become a man before sunrise. Dominic's first word, "Ma," not mama, ma, like he was already too practical for sentimentality. Moving to Lake Forest, Dominic was so angry, said we didn't belong with these people. He was right, we never did. Maxwell used to say, "Vivian, you're my whole world," and I'd say, "Then the world is smaller than I thought." And he'd laugh. 10 memories, 11, 12. They kept coming until Vivian was crying and laughing simultaneously, decades of living compressed into minutes of crystalline recall. Sienna held her hand, let her talk, didn't interrupt, just witnessed. The door opened. Dominic stood in the threshold, frozen, staring at his mother, fully lucid, smiling through tears, talking about his father like he just left the room instead of been dead 15 years. Vivian saw him. Recognition hit like lightning. "Dominic, come here." This girl understands. She knows Billie Holiday. She knows about Mama's pancakes. He crossed the room in 3 strides, knelt beside the rocking chair, took his mother's free hand. "I see that, Ma. I see. She's special, this one. You keep her close." Planning on it, Vivian yawned, exhaustion from sustained lucidity crashing over her. Dominic stood, lifted her like she weighed nothing, carried her to bed, tucked her in with gentleness that seemed impossible from hands Sienna knew had killed. Within seconds, Vivian was asleep. Dominic stood over her, watching, making sure. Then he turned to Sienna. "How many memories?" 12, maybe 13, lost count. He pulled an envelope from his inside jacket pocket, handed it to her. She opened it. Cash, $100 bills, counted automatically, 30,000 exactly. "You earned it, fair and square." Sienna stared at more money than she'd ever held. Her hands shook. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet." He gestured toward the door. She followed him back downstairs, back to the library. The fire had died to embers. He poured another bourbon, didn't offer her one this time. Real offer now. I want to hire you. Full-time, exclusive. Live here at the estate. Be Ma's companion. Make sure she never feels scared or alone. Mr. Thorne, Dominic. Dominic, I appreciate this, but I can't. I have Finn. He's 16. I'm his legal guardian. I can't just move into a... She gestured at the mansion around them. The wealth. The danger. Crime lord's house? Heat flooded her face. Yeah. Bring him. What? Bring your brother. Estate's 8 acres. Guest house has 6 bedrooms. He's in school? My driver takes him. He's sick? My doctor treats him. Dominic sat forward, elbows on knees. I researched you tonight, Sienna. While you were upstairs winning my money, I know Finn's at Lane Tech. GPA 3.9. I know he's got congenital heart defect. Been hospitalized 6 times in 12 months. I know he needs a transplant. $50,000. Insurance denied your claim 3 times. Her chest tightened. You know he's dying. I know you're fighting to save him. I know you got 30,000 now. Need 20 more. Dominic stood, walked to his desk, wrote a check, brought it back, set it on the table between them. Sienna looked down. Pay to the order of Sienna Ashworth. Amount, $20,000. Why? The word came out broken. Why would you do this for strangers? Dominic sat back in his chair, looked at the fire's dying light. Because when my old man died, I was 19, alone, had to run the family, bury him, protect Ma. I had nobody, not a single person I could trust, not one. His eyes came back to hers. You're 24, alone, carrying debts that aren't yours, protecting family. I see myself in you, and I don't want you drowning like I almost did. The honesty in his voice felt like weapons lowered, armor cracked. What's the real catch? You belong to the family now. Live in my house. Follow my rules. Most important rule is simple. He leaned forward, close enough she could smell bourbon on his breath. What happens in Thorne Estate stays in Thorne Estate. You see nothing, hear nothing, tell nobody outside without permission. You understand? Devil's bargain. Salvation wrapped in chains. But Finn needed a heart. And hearts cost $50,000 that Sienna now held in check in cash. How long? Minimum 1-year contract. And if I want out? After 1 year, you're free. His smile suggested he knew she'd never leave. Sienna stood, extended her hand. One condition. I finish nursing school. Online. Nights when your ma's asleep. You pay tuition. Dominic stared, then laughed. Real sound that transformed his face from terrifying to something almost human. You just negotiated with the most dangerous man in Chicago. He shook her hand, pulled her close, thumb pressed against her racing pulse. I respect spine. You got it in abundance. Do we have a deal? We have a deal. Welcome home, Sienna Ashworth. He didn't let go immediately, held her hand beat too long enough for her to feel heat radiating from his skin, long enough to understand that she'd just traded one prison for another, except this one had silk sheets and deadly secrets. He released her, stepped back. Guest room's 3rd floor, 2nd door on the left. Tomorrow we'll move Finn in, get him set up with doctors, start the transplant process. Thank you. The words felt inadequate. He just saved her brother's life, destroyed every plan she'd had for revenge. Because Sienna hadn't told him the truth, hadn't mentioned that her father was Patrick Ashworth, Chicago PD, undercover cop murdered by Maxwell Thorne 4 years ago, tortured for information, executed in a warehouse on the south side, body dumped in a construction site to make it look like an accident. She'd found the files 2 years ago, hidden in her grandmother's attic. Police reports, surveillance photos, evidence that Maxwell Thorne had discovered Patrick's wire, broken every bone in his hands with a hammer, then put a bullet through his brain. Sienna had come to the Drake Hotel knowing Dominic would be there, had positioned herself to intervene, had used skills learned from her father's files to get close. She'd planned to destroy the Thorne family from within. Instead, she was taking their money, moving into their house, saving her brother with blood money. The irony tasted like copper pennies and betrayal. Upstairs in the guest room, Sienna locked the door, sat on a bed larger than her entire bedroom at home, opened the locket she wore under her uniform. Inside, photo of Patrick Ashworth in CPD dress blues. On the back, scratched in his handwriting, "Justice for the fallen." "I'm sorry, Dad," she whispered to the empty room. "I'm so sorry." But Finn needed to live, and some prices were too high even for justice. Morning broke over Lake Michigan in shades of gunmetal and threat. Sienna woke to unfamiliar ceiling, unfamiliar silence, the kind of quiet that only existed in houses built to muffle screams. Her phone showed 17 missed calls from Finn. She dialed back before her eyes fully opened. He answered on the first ring. "Where the hell are you?" "I'm safe, I'm at..." "Some guy showed up at 3 a.m., said you sent him, had a phone, cash, told me to pack a bag because we're moving." Finn's voice carried the brittle edge of panic, barely controlled. 16 years old and too smart to believe in miracles that knocked on doors after midnight. "It's real, Finn, all of it. I got the money. For your transplant. We got it." Silence stretched long enough to hurt. "How?" "Tell you when you get here. The address is..." "He already gave it to me. Lake Forest." "Sienna, what did you do?" The question landed like an accusation. She looked at the check on the nightstand, $20,000 signed in Dominic Thorne's precise handwriting. "What I had to. Get in the car. I'll explain everything." She ended the call before he could argue. Stood, stretched, found her uniform from last night draped over a chair, cleaned and pressed by hands she'd never see. Her cheap shoes sat beside it, polished to a shine they'd never had when she bought them. A knock rattled the door. "Miss Ashworth? Breakfast is ready." Female voice, professional. The kind of neutral tone that came from years of serving people who forgot you existed. "Be right down." The shower ran hot enough to scald. Sienna stood under it until her skin turned red, trying to wash away the feeling that she'd sold something more valuable than her father's memory. The soap smelled expensive, lavender and something else she couldn't name. Everything in this house spoke a language of wealth she was still learning to translate. Downstairs, the dining room stretched the length of her former apartment. Table that could seat 20. Windows overlooking gardens maintained with the precision of military operations. Vivian sat at the head, picking at scrambled eggs while a different nurse hovered nearby. The old woman looked up when Sienna entered. No recognition in her eyes. Yesterday's lucidity had evaporated like morning frost. "Who are you?" The nurse intervened smoothly. "This is Sienna, Mrs. Thorne. She's going to be spending time with you." "I don't know you." "That's okay, we just met yesterday. At the benefit gala. You remember the music?" Blank stare. Then something flickered. "Billie Holiday. We listened to Billie Holiday." "That's right," Vivian smiled. Small victory against the disease eating her memories. Dominic entered through a side door, phone pressed to his ear, already dressed in another suit that probably cost more than a used car. He saw Sienna, nodded once, continued his conversation in tones too low to hear. Business. Always business for men who own cities. He ended the call, pocketed the phone. "Sleep well?" "Well enough." "Good. Finn arrives in 40 minutes. Dr. Hartley's coming at 10 to examine him. We'll start the transplant workup today if his condition's stable enough." He said it casually, like saving a teenage boy's life was just another Tuesday morning task between coffee and lunch. "Thank you." The words felt insufficient. Dominic waved them away. "Thank me by keeping Ma happy. That's the arrangement." He sat. The staff materialized with breakfast. Coffee black as sin, toast barely touched by butter. Eggs prepared exactly how he wanted, without him saying a word. This was his kingdom. These were his subjects. Everyone moved in choreographed efficiency, born of consequences too severe to risk mistakes. Sienna sat across from him, accepted coffee she didn't want, watched Vivian navigate scrambled eggs with the concentration of someone defusing bombs. "You're different than I expected." Dominic's eyebrow raised fractionally. "How's that?" "The papers make you sound like a monster, but you love your ma. You're helping Finn. That's not monster behavior." "Don't mistake tactics for character, Sienna. I'm helping Finn because I need you. I need you because Ma responds to you. It's transactional. Always is." "You're lying." The room went quiet. Even the staff froze mid-pour, mid-serve, waiting for the explosion that must follow such presumption. Dominic stared at her, face unreadable. "You think I'm lying?" "I think you want people to believe you're all transaction and no heart. Safer that way. Nobody can hurt you if they think you don't care about anything. And you've known me less than 12 hours, but you think you understand me." "I understand loneliness. Recognize it in other people." Something shifted in his expression, microscopic. There and gone so fast she might have imagined it. "Eat your breakfast, Sienna. Finn's going to have questions you'll need strength to answer." The conversation ended. He returned to his phone. She ate eggs that tasted like guilt and pragmatism in equal measure. 43 minutes later, an Escalade pulled up the circular drive. Finn emerged carrying a duffel bag that held everything he owned worth keeping. He looked smaller than she remembered. Illness did that. Carved away everything except the essential architecture of survival. Sienna met him at the door. He hugged her hard enough to hurt. "This place is insane." "Yeah." "We're really staying here?" "Yeah." "And he's really paying for my transplant?" "Yeah." Finn pulled back, studied her face with eyes too old for 16. "What's it gonna cost us?" Before she could answer, Dominic appeared in the foyer. Finn's spine went rigid. Fight or flight instinct recognizing predator. "You must be Finn. You must be the guy who's too good to be true." Dominic's mouth curved. Not quite a smile. "Smart kid. You're right to be suspicious. Let me be clear about what's happening here. Your sister works for me, takes care of my mother. In exchange, I pay for your medical care. All of it. Transplant, recovery, medications, whatever you need." "Why?" "Because I can. Because your sister earned it. And because I remember what it's like to watch someone you love die while you're powerless to stop it." The honesty in his voice cut through Finn's suspicion. Not all the way, but enough to lower defenses by inches. "Where's my room?" "Third floor, west wing, view of the lake. Maria will show you." A housekeeper materialized, young, efficient. She gestured for Finn to follow. He looked at Sienna one more time, question in his eyes. She nodded. He went. Dominic waited until footsteps faded upstairs. "He's protective of you. He's all I got left." "Not anymore. Now you got me, Ma. This whole operation, for better or worse." "Which is it, better or worse?" "Ask me in a year." Dr. Hartley arrived precisely at 10. Northwestern medicine credentials. Competence radiating from her like heat. She examined Finn for 90 minutes while Sienna paced holes in antique rugs. When the doctor emerged, her expression gave nothing away. His heart's functioning at 30% capacity, significantly worse than his last cardiology report from county. He needs this transplant soon. Weeks, not months. Sienna's legs went liquid. "Can you do it?" "I can get him on the list, expedite the workup, but transplants aren't guaranteed. We need a match, compatible blood type, tissue markers, and even then there's wait times. People ahead of him who've been waiting years." Dominic stepped forward. "How do we move him up the list?" Dr. Hartley's mouth thinned. "I won't falsify medical records, Mr. Thorne, not even for you. Wasn't asking you to. I'm asking how much it costs to fund a research wing, or endow a chair, Or make sure your hospital has resources to save more lives. Understanding dawned in the doctor's eyes. Northwestern could use a new cardiac center. State-of-the-art. Estimated cost is $12 million. You'll have 15 by end of business tomorrow. Finn Ashworth gets prioritized. Legally, ethically, but prioritized. Dr. Hartley nodded once. Professional acknowledgement of reality's brutal economics. Money bought better odds. Always had. Pretending otherwise was luxury reserved for people who'd never watched someone they loved suffocate by degrees. She left with promises in timelines. Finn would enter the transplant program immediately. Tests would run continuously. When a heart became available, he'd be ready. If a heart became available. Sienna found Finn in his new room, staring out windows at water that stretched to horizons he'd never reach if his chest kept failing. You heard? Yeah, new cardiac center at Northwestern. Bought with blood money, I'm guessing. She sat beside him on a bed worth more than their rent for a year. Dad was a cop, Finn. Undercover. Investigating the Thorns. Maxwell Thorne found out. Killed him. Made it look like a construction accident. Finn's breath stopped. And you're working for his son, living in his house, taking his money to save your life. So I'm the reason you're sleeping with the enemy? The accusation hurt more because it was accurate. You're the reason I'm still breathing. Everything else is just details. Finn stood, walked to the window, put his forehead against glass cold enough to sting. Does he know about Dad? Not yet, but he will, eventually. Men like Dominic Thorne know everything. And when he finds out, Sienna didn't have an answer that wouldn't sound like a death sentence. 3 days passed in careful choreography. Sienna learned the estate's rhythms. Vivian's good hours clustered around mid-morning and early evening. Between them stretched vast deserts of confusion, where the old woman wandered mentally through decades, searching for people and places that no longer existed. Sienna sat with her during those times, played music, told stories, did puzzles designed for children that Vivian completed with the intense focus of someone clinging to proof they still possessed functioning minds. Dominic watched from doorways, never interfered, just observed with those dark eyes that cataloged everything and revealed nothing. On the fourth night, Sienna couldn't sleep. The guest room felt suffocating despite its size. She wandered downstairs at 2 a.m., found the library, discovered Dominic already there with bourbon and documents that looked like contracts written in blood. He glanced up when she entered. Can't sleep? House is too quiet. Yeah, wealth buys silence. Not always a blessing. He gestured to the chair opposite. She sat. Fire crackled between them. What are you working on? Cleaning up a mess in the shipping division. Someone's skimming. Thought they were clever. They're not. What happens to them? Depends. If they're stupid and greedy, they disappear. If they're desperate and scared, they get a second chance with conditions. Which kind are they? Still deciding. He set the papers aside, poured a second glass of bourbon, slid it across the table. You said you don't drink. I lied. He smiled, genuine warmth breaking through. Another point in your favor. Honest liars are rare. She sipped, fire and smoke and something sweet underneath. It burned, going down in ways she needed. Tell me about your old man. The request landed casual but weighted. Sienna's grip tightened on crystal worth more than her education. Construction worker. Died on a job site 4 years ago. Scaffolding collapse. Didn't suffer. At least that's what they told us. All true. All lies of omission. Dominic studied her face. You were close? Yeah, he was everything after Mom left. Taught me how to throw a punch, how to change a tire, how to survive in a city that eats people who show weakness. Sounds like a good man. He was. I'm sorry you lost him. The condolences came from the son of his murderer. Sienna forced herself to hold eye contact. Tell me about Maxwell. Dominic's expression shuddered. Not much to tell. Heart attack when I was 19. One minute he was giving orders. Next minute, he was on the floor, dead before the ambulance arrived. Lie. Patrick's files told a different story. Maxwell Thorne had been poisoned by a rival crew at a sit-down. Died screaming. Dominic inherited an empire at war and crushed opposition with ruthlessness that became Chicago legend. That's when you took over? Yeah, 19 years old. Business degree from Northwestern. Thought I was going legitimate. Real estate, import, export, clean money. Then Pop died and I learned the family business doesn't allow retirement. You ever wish you could walk away? He drained his bourbon, poured another. Every day. And never. It's all I know. All I'm good at. You can't separate the man from the machine when you've been built for one purpose. What purpose is that? Winning, no matter the cost, no matter who gets hurt. The admission hung between them like confession. That's lonely. That's survival. Sienna leaned forward. Is it though? Surviving alone in a fortress isn't living. It's just dying slower. Dominic met her eyes, really looked at her, through armor and deflection to whatever truth lived underneath. You're dangerous, Sienna Ashworth. How's that? You make me think things could be different. That's the most dangerous idea in the world. The air thickened, charged. She felt it in her chest, the pull toward disaster disguised as connection. He stood abruptly. Get some sleep. Ma will want you early tomorrow. She's got a doctor's appointment at Northwestern. Dismissal. Professional distance reasserting itself. Sienna rose, started toward the door, stopped. For what it's worth, Dominic, I think you're more than the machine. I think that terrifies you. She left before he could respond. Upstairs, she pressed her back against the guest room door, heart hammering, hands shaking. She just flirted with the son of her father's killer, felt attraction sparking in the space between them like voltage looking for ground. The locket around her neck felt heavier than gold should weigh. Northwestern Medical Center rose from Chicago's landscape like a monument to the possibility of healing. Sienna accompanied Vivian to her neurology appointment, watching nurses navigate the old woman's questions with practiced patience. The neurologist spoke in measured tones about decline trajectories and medication adjustments. Nothing could reverse the damage. Everything was about managing descent toward inevitable conclusion. Vivian seemed to understand, seemed to accept. Then 5 minutes later asked when Maxwell was picking her up. In the parking garage afterward, Sienna helped Vivian into the Escalade. Reaper stood nearby, scanning for threats that might materialize from concrete shadows. His presence was constant now, protective detail that never slept. They were halfway home when Vivian grabbed Sienna's hand. You're a good girl, not like the others. They look at me and see dollar signs. You look at me and see a person. You are a person, Mrs. Thorne. Call me Vivian. Mrs. Thorne was Maxwell's mother. She hated me, thought I wasn't good enough for her son. Lucidity, sudden and sharp. Was she right? Vivian laughed. Probably. I was a waitress at my mama's diner. Maxwell was already running the South Side. But he loved me, really loved me. Not because I was useful, because I made him laugh. That's rare. That's everything. The old woman's grip tightened. My son looks at you the way Maxwell looked at me, like you're a puzzle he can't solve. Like solving you might save him. Sienna's breath caught. Mrs. Thorne, Vivian. Vivian, your son barely knows me. He knows enough. I see him. I raised him. He's been alone since Maxwell died, surrounded by people, alone in his head. But when you're in the room, he's present. That means something. The Escalade turned into the estate grounds. Conversation died as staff appeared to help Vivian inside. Sienna stayed in the vehicle, processing, denying, failing to convince herself that what Vivian saw was imagination rather than observation. That night, Finn's condition worsened. Sienna woke to pounding on her door at 4 a.m. Maria's voice, urgent and scared. "Miss Ashworth, your brother!" She ran barefoot through halls she barely knew, found Finn on the bathroom floor, lips blue, chest heaving with the effort of pulling oxygen from air that might as well have been concrete. Doctor Hartley arrived within 20 minutes, paramedics right behind her. They stabilized Finn enough to transport. Northwestern's cardiac wing swallowed him into machines and monitors. The waiting room became Sienna's world. Plastic chairs, vending machine coffee, fluorescent lights that turned everyone into corpses rehearsing for death. Dominic appeared at dawn, suit already perfect despite the hour. He sat beside her without speaking, just presence, solid and real when everything else felt like it was disintegrating. "He's strong," Sienna's laugh came out broken. "He's 16, his heart's failing. Strong doesn't matter. Strong always matters." Dr. Hartley emerged at 8, face carefully neutral. "He's stable, but this was a warning. Next time might be the last time. We need a heart. Soon." "How soon?" 2 weeks, maybe 3 if we're lucky." Sienna stood, walked to windows overlooking the city that had taken her father and was now reaching for her brother. Chicago stretched to horizons, indifferent to individual suffering. Millions of hearts beating, millions of stories ending. Hers wasn't special. Finn's wasn't special. They were just data points in actuarial tables. Dominic came up beside her. "I'll make calls, expedite the search. We'll find him a heart." "You can't buy a heart, Dominic. They don't work that way. Everything works away if you know the right pressure points." She turned to face him. "This isn't some business deal you can negotiate. This is my brother dying while we watch." "I know. Do you? Or is this just another transaction? Help me so I'll help your mother?" His jaw tightened. "You want honesty? Fine. Start it as transaction. Keep you compliant. Keep Ma happy. Simple exchange. But somewhere between champagne and bourbon, between watching you make my mother smile and listening to you call me lonely, it stopped being simple. What is it now? Damned if I know. But I'm going to save Finn, not because I need you, because you need me. And that matters." Sienna felt something crack in her chest, not breaking, shifting, realigning around a truth she'd been avoiding. She was falling for Dominic Thorne, the man whose father murdered hers. The universe had a vicious sense of irony. Finn recovered enough to go home after 2 days. Weak, pale, tethered to portable oxygen that hissed its mechanical reassurance. He didn't complain, just existed in the space between alive and not, waiting for strangers to die so their organs could buy him more time. Sienna threw herself into caring for Vivian, distraction from watching Finn fade. The old woman had more bad days than good now, regression accelerating. She forgot how to use forks, forgot where the bathroom was, forgot she'd already eaten breakfast and demanded it again. Through it all, Dominic watched, making calls, pulling strings, using every connection and threat in his considerable arsenal to move Finn up transplant lists that weren't supposed to be movable. On the 7th day, Sienna was helping Vivian get dressed when she noticed the guard missing from outside the bedroom door. Small detail, wrong detail. She settled Vivian in her rocking chair, stepped into the hallway, empty, too quiet. The first gunshot came from downstairs, then another, then automatic weapons fire that sounded like the world ending. Sienna ran back into the bedroom, locked the door. Vivian was humming, oblivious. Sienna grabbed her phone, dialed Dominic. He answered on the first ring. Gunfire loud in the background. "Stay in Ma's room. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone but Reaper or me." "What's happening?" "Rivals making a move. Thought I was vulnerable. They're learning different." The call ended. Sienna pulled Vivian away from the window. Behind the bed, tried to be calm while adrenaline turned her vision sharp and her hands steady. More gunshots, closer now. Footsteps pounding in the hallway. A scream cut short. Silence worse than sound. Then knocking. "Miss Ashworth, it's Reaper. I'm coming in." The lock disengaged from the outside. Security override. Reaper entered, blood on his collar, gun in hand. Behind him, two more guards she recognized. "We're moving you to the panic room. Both of you. Now." Sienna helped Vivian stand. The old woman was smiling, thinking this was a game. They moved through hallways transformed into war zones. Bullet holes in walls. Blood on marble. Bodies she tried not to look at directly. The panic room was steel and concrete buried beneath the wine cellar. Reinforced. Soundproof. Designed for exactly this scenario. Reapers sealed them inside. Thick door, 8-inch steel. The locks engaged with mechanical finality. Vivian sat in the corner, rocking, humming Billie Holiday. Sienna's hands wouldn't stop shaking. Minutes passed like hours. The panic room had no windows, no way to know what was happening above. Just silence and the sound of Vivian's humming and Sienna's heart trying to escape her chest. Then the intercom crackled. "Sienna, it's me." Dominic's voice, alive, unharmed from what she could hear. "We're okay."
Is it over?
"Yeah, it's over." The locks disengaged. The door swung open. Dominic stood there, suit jacket missing, shirt torn, blood on his knuckles that might have been his or might have been someone else's. His eyes went straight to his mother. "Ma, you okay?" Vivienne looked up. No recognition. Fear instead. "Who are you? Where's Maxwell? I want Maxwell." Dominic flinched. Microscopic reaction. There and gone. "It's okay, Ma. You're safe now." He looked at Sienna. "You hurt?" "No, scared, not hurt." "Good." He started to turn away. Sienna grabbed his arm. "Who were they?" "Doesn't matter. They're gone. That's what matters." "Dominic. They knew about you, about Finn, came at me through my vulnerabilities, thought they could use you as leverage." His eyes held hers. Intensity that made her forget how to breathe. "Nobody uses you as leverage. Nobody touches what's mine." The possessiveness in his voice should have terrified her, should have sent her running. Instead, it sparked something primitive, something that responded to protection offered by dangerous men who made the world safer by making themselves more dangerous. "I'm not yours." "Keep telling yourself that." He left. Reaper stayed to escort them upstairs. The estate looked like a battlefield. Cleanup crews were already working, removing evidence, restoring order, making death disappear into carpets and drains and unmarked graves. This was Dominic's world. Violence as business tool. Protection as transaction. Love as liability. Sienna got Vivian settled. The old woman fell asleep immediately, exhausted by fear she'd already forgotten. Sienna found Dominic in his study. Bourbon. Dark. Staring at nothing. She closed the door. Locked it. "Talk to me." "Nothing to talk about. Dealt with a threat. Won't happen again." "How many people died today?" "6 of theirs. 2 of mine." He said it without emotion. "Accountant. Acceptable losses." "Does it bother you? Would you believe me if I said yes?" "I don't know. Try me." Dominic set his bourbon down, stood, crossed to where she waited. "Every death bothers me. Every choice. Every compromise. I'm not a sociopath, Sienna. I feel it all. I just can't show it. The moment I show weakness, I'm dead. Everyone I protect is dead. So I bury it, deep, where it can't be used against me. That's no way to live. It's the only way I know." She reached up, touched his face. He didn't pull away. "You're not alone anymore, Dominic. You got me. You got your ma. You got people who care if you hurt. Caring makes you vulnerable. Caring makes you human." He caught her wrist, gentle but firm. "You should go, before I do something we both regret." "What if I don't want to go?" The air between them ignited. She saw it in his eyes. The war between control and desire. Professional distance versus the gravitational pull drawing them together. He kissed her, hard, desperate, tasting like bourbon and violence and loneliness so profound it had its own gravity. She kissed him back with equal desperation, hands in his hair, body pressed against his, needing to feel alive after a day dancing with death. They broke apart, breathing hard. "This is a mistake," her voice. She didn't believe the words even as she said them. "Probably. I should go." "Yeah." Neither of them moved. The door burst open. Reaper, face grim. "Boss, we got a problem." Dominic stepped back, professional mask slamming down. "What problem?" "Finn collapsed. Paramedics are en route." Sienna's world tilted sideways. She ran, through halls, upstairs, found Finn on the bathroom floor again. Blue lips, chest still, not breathing. Dr. Hartley was already doing compressions. 1, 2, 3, counting out loud. 30 compressions, 2 breaths, 30 more. "Come on, Finn, come on." Sienna dropped to her knees, took his hand. Cold, too cold. Don't you dare leave me." Paramedics arrived, defibrillator, shock. His body arced, no rhythm. Shock again, nothing. Third time, the monitor beeped, irregular, thready, but there. They loaded him onto a stretcher. Sienna climbed into the ambulance. Dominic appeared at the door. "I'll meet you there." The ambulance screamed through Chicago, lights and sirens, racing death to the hospital. Northwestern Trauma Bay swallowed Finn into organized chaos. Sienna stood behind glass watching doctors work with the efficiency of people accustomed to miracles and tragedies in equal measure. Dr. Hartley emerged after an hour. He's alive, stable, but his heart's failing faster than projected. Days, maybe a week. "What do we do?" "Pray someone dies, and soon." I know how that sounds, but it's the truth. Finn needs a heart. Unless one becomes available in the next 72 hours, he's not going to make it. Sienna felt the floor drop away. Dominic caught her before she fell. The heart transplant took 9 hours. Sienna counted every minute in the surgical waiting room, plastic chairs molding to her spine, vending machine coffee turning to battery acid in her stomach. Dominic made calls, paced, sat, stood. The cycle repeated until Dr. Hartley finally emerged at hour 9. Surgical mask pulled down, exhaustion carved into professional features. He's alive, heart's functioning beautifully. Next 72 hours are critical for rejection, but early indicators look excellent. Relief hit Sienna like voltage. She stood, sat, stood again. Her body couldn't decide what to do with the sudden absence of terror that had lived in her chest for weeks. Dominic's hand found her elbow. "Breathe, Sienna. It's over. He made it," she breathed. In, out. The world steadied. They let her see Finn 30 minutes later. Cardiac ICU. Machines breathing for him, monitoring every beat of the stranger's heart now pumping in his chest. He looked smaller than possible. Tubes, wires, but alive. So impossibly, beautifully alive. Sienna took his hand, felt warmth that hadn't existed yesterday. "Welcome back." His eyes stayed closed, sedated, healing. The color in his cheeks already better than it had been in months. Dominic stood at the window, silent, present. She'd learned his silences had different textures. This one felt like relief wrapped in something heavier. Debt, maybe, or recognition that saving Finn had cost more than money. "Thank you." The words felt microscopic against the weight of what he'd done. "Don't. You earned this. He earned this. It's not charity." "Still, thank you." He turned from the window, looked at her directly. "You staying here tonight?" "Yeah, can't leave him yet. I'll have Reaper bring you clothes, food, whatever you need." "You don't have to." "I know, doing it anyway." He left before she could argue. The man who owned Chicago, who killed without hesitation, who built empires on violence, couldn't stay in a hospital room watching machines keep a teenager alive. The vulnerability in that retreat said more than words. 3 days passed in careful rhythm. Sienna divided time between Finn's bedside and brief trips to the estate to check on Vivian. The old woman was declining faster, more bad hours than good. She'd forgotten Sienna twice, remembered her once, spent the rest of the time asking for Maxwell with increasing desperation. On day 4, Finn woke up. His eyes opened slowly. Confusion, fear, then recognition. "Sis?" Sienna's throat closed. She gripped his hand tighter. "Yeah, I'm here. You're okay. Surgery went perfect." "New heart?" "New heart. 23-year-old donor from Peoria. Motorcycle accident." His family said yes to donation. Finn processed this. The weight of living on borrowed heartbeats. "Someone died so I could live." "Yeah, that's heavy." "Yeah." He squeezed her hand. "I'm not going to waste it. The time, the gift. I promise." "I know you won't." Dr. Hartley entered for evening rounds, checked vitals, reviewed labs, pronounced everything excellent. Barring complications, Finn could move to step-down unit tomorrow, home in a week. Home. The word had lost clear definition. Was home the studio apartment in Pilsen that smelled like neighbors cooking and desperation? Or the Lake Forest estate with its marble floors and deadly secrets? That night, Sienna returned to the estate. She'd been sleeping in guest rooms, avoiding Dominic's wing, maintaining professional distance that felt increasingly artificial. They orbited each other like binary stars, gravity pulling them together, momentum keeping them apart. She found him in the library. Bourbon, documents, the usual armor. "Finn's awake, talking. Doctor says he can come home next week." Dominic looked up. Something shifted in his expression. "That's good. Real good. He'll stay in the guest house, more privacy, still close enough for medical supervision." "You've thought this through." "I think everything through. Occupational hazard." Sienna sat in the chair across from him, firelight caught in crystal, refracted into rainbow shards that danced on mahogany. "Can I ask you something? Can I stop you? When did you know? About my father? About who I was?" The question had been building for days. She watched his face for tells. Dominic set his bourbon down, leaned back, considered his answer with the care of a man navigating minefields. "Suspected the night of the gala. You spoke Old South Side. That's rare. Dead language. Had you investigated the next day? Background check. Family history. Found Patrick Ashworth. Chicago PD. Undercover assignment in organized crime. Died 4 years ago. Construction accident that wasn't an accident. And you let me stay anyway." "Yeah." "Why?" "Wanted to see what you'd do. If you were here for revenge or survival. If you'd poison Ma's medication. If you'd plant evidence. If you'd seduce me to get information." The honesty landed like bullets. "And?" "You did none of those things. You loved Ma, saved Finn, fell for me despite every reason not to. That meant something." Sienna's chest tightened. "I did come here for revenge. At first, found Dad's files 2 years ago. Evidence that Maxwell Thorne killed him, tortured him, made it look like an accident. I wanted to destroy your family. But you didn't. Because you're not Maxwell. Because Vivian smiled at me like I mattered. Because Finn needed saving more than I needed revenge." Dominic stood, crossed to her, pulled her up to face him. "Your father was a good cop. Did his job. My father killed him for it. That's the truth. I can't change it. Can't apologize for Maxwell's sins. But I can promise you this. I'm not him. Never will be." "I know." "Do you? Really? Because loving me means living with what my family did. Means choosing me over your father's memory. That's not a small thing, Sienna. Love's never a small thing." He kissed her then. Not the desperate kisses from before. This one felt like surrender. Like acceptance. Like choosing each other despite the weight of history trying to crush them. They broke apart, breathing hard. Stay tonight, with me, not the guest room, my room. Dominic, I'm not asking for sex, I'm asking for presence. Wake up next to someone who knows all my sins and stays anyway. That's worth more than anything. Sienna nodded. Let him lead her upstairs to the master suite she'd never entered. The room was surprisingly sparse, no ostentation, just clean lines, dark colors, windows overlooking the lake. They undressed to underwear, climbed into bed. She fit against his chest like missing puzzle pieces clicking home. Tell me something true. Her voice cut through darkness. I dream about the men I've killed. Not all of them, just the first one. I was 22. He'd betrayed the family. Standard execution. I pulled the trigger, watched him die, threw up in the alley after. Couldn't eat for 3 days. Now I don't throw up anymore. That scares me more than the killing. The confession hung between them, raw, real. I dream about Dad. He's trying to warn me about something, but I can't hear him through glass between us. Wake up knowing the warning was probably run from the thorns, but I didn't listen. Now I'm in love with the enemy. Am I the enemy? Not anymore. Maybe never were. Just someone born into the wrong family, same as me. They fell asleep tangled together, found something like peace in choosing each other over ghosts. Morning came too early. Dominic's phone shattered silence at 6 a.m. He answered with the clipped efficiency of a man who never stopped working. Yeah, when? How many? Handle it. I'll be there in 30. He hung up, kissed Sienna's forehead. Supply issue at the docks. Gotta handle it personally. Stay. Sleep. I'll be back for lunch. He dressed in the dark, left her drowning in sheets that smelled like cedar in safety. Sienna dozed until 8, woke to find Maria at the door with breakfast tray and news. Miss Ashworth, Mrs. Thorne is asking for you. She's having a good morning. Lucid moments were gifts. Sienna dressed quickly, found Vivian in her suite, actually eating breakfast without prompting. There you are. I was telling the nurse about the time Maxwell proposed. Did I ever tell you that story? Tell me again. Vivian smiled, launched into the tale. Navy Pier, fireworks, Maxwell on one knee. The memory played clear as film, untouched by disease for precious minutes. They were laughing about Maxwell stepping on her foot during their first dance when Sienna's phone rang. Unknown number. Excuse me, Vivian. She stepped into the hallway. Answered. Miss Ashworth, this is Detective Sarah Morrison, Chicago PD. We need to talk about your father's death. Ice crystallized in Sienna's veins. What about it? New evidence has surfaced. Evidence suggesting Patrick Ashworth's death wasn't accidental. We're reopening the case. I'd like to bring you in for questioning, today if possible. Questioning about what? About your relationship with the Thorne family. About what you might know regarding your father's undercover assignment. About whether you have information relevant to an ongoing investigation. I don't know anything. Then coming in should be quick and easy. CPD headquarters. 2 p.m. work for you? Sienna's mind raced. Refusing would look suspicious. But talking to CPD while living with Dominic was dangerous for everyone. I'll be there. Good. See you at 2, Miss Ashworth. The line went dead. Sienna stood in the hallway, heart hammering. 4 years. They'd ignored her father's death for 4 years. Now suddenly, new evidence? The timing felt weaponized. She called Dominic. Voicemail. Left a message. Detective Morrison from CPD wants to talk to me about Dad. 2 p.m. at headquarters. Call me. Vivian appeared in the doorway, lucidity already fading. Where's Maxwell? I need to talk to Maxwell. The good morning was over. At 1:45, Sienna took the L downtown. CPD headquarters rose from Chicago's landscape like a monument to order in a city built on organized chaos. She'd avoided this building for years. Her father had worked here, died protecting what it represented. Detective Morrison met her in the lobby. 40s, hard eyes, the kind of cop who'd seen enough corruption to assume everyone was dirty until proven otherwise. Miss Ashworth, thanks for coming. This way. Interview room, two-way mirror, recording equipment, all the theater of official investigation. Morrison sat across from her, pulled out a file. Let's start simple. When did you meet Dominic Thorne? 3 weeks ago, at a charity gala. I was working as a server, and now you live in his house. I work for him, taking care of his mother. That's a quick escalation. Server to live-in caretaker in 3 weeks. His mother has dementia. I have nursing background. It made sense. Morrison opened the file, slid across a photo. Crime scene, warehouse, blood on concrete. Recognize this location? Sienna's stomach dropped. No. This is where we found your father, 4 years ago. Official ruling was construction accident, but my partner never bought it. Kept the file open. Died last month. Gave me everything he had. Morrison slid across autopsy photos. Sienna looked away. Your father had defensive wounds, broken fingers, signs of torture. Someone wanted information before they killed him. Why are you showing me this? Because your father was investigating Maxwell Thorne. Southside operations. He was close to something big when he died. 3 months later, Maxwell Thorne died of a convenient heart attack. Morrison leaned forward. Except Maxwell's autopsy shows traces of oleander poisoning. That's not a heart attack. That's murder disguised as natural causes. The information hit like a freight train. You think someone killed Maxwell Thorne? I think someone wanted him dead before your father's investigation could go public. Someone who benefited from Maxwell's death. Someone who inherited the entire operation. Understanding dawned, cold and terrible. You think Dominic killed his own father. I think it's worth investigating. 19-year-old inherits an empire, eliminates the evidence, clean transition of power. That's insane. Dominic loved Maxwell. People kill what they love when it becomes inconvenient, Miss Ashworth. Morrison pushed a legal pad across the table. You're living in Thorne's house. You have access. If you see anything illegal, anything that connects to your father's death or Maxwell's death, I need you to tell me. You want me to spy on him. I want justice for your father, don't you? Sienna stared at the crime scene photos, her father's blood, 4 years of questions. I want the truth, but I won't lie to get it. If Dominic's guilty, prove it without using me. You're choosing him over your father? I'm choosing not to become what I hate. Find your evidence somewhere else, detective. She stood, walked out before Morrison could respond. Outside, Chicago air felt too thin. She walked north without destination, just movement. Escape from the choice Morrison was trying to force. Her phone rang. Unknown number again. She almost didn't answer. Yeah? Sienna Ashworth. Male voice. Rough. Unfamiliar. Name's Knox Sterling. We need to talk. Who are you? Someone with answers about your father. About Maxwell Thorne. About Dominic's secrets. Meet me. Warehouse District, Pier 47. 8 p.m. tonight. Come alone. Why would I? Because Detective Morrison's asking the wrong questions. The truth about Patrick Ashworth's death? It's worse than you think. And Dominic knows more than he's telling you. The line went dead. Sienna stood on the sidewalk, traffic rushing past. 2 invitations to betrayal in one day. She went back to the estate, found Dominic in his study, already back from the docks. Got your message. What did Morrison want? To make me a spy. Said they're investigating Maxwell's death. Think you killed him. Dominic's expression didn't change. What did you tell her? To find evidence without using me. Good. He stood, crossed to her. Listen carefully. Morrison's not wrong. Maxwell was poisoned. Oleander in his bourbon. He died 3 months after Patrick because he was about to be arrested. Your father's investigation was solid. Would have brought down the entire operation. Sienna's world tilted. You knew. I knew. I was there the night he died. Watched him realize someone poisoned him. Heard him accuse me with his last breath. Did you do it? No, but I know who did. And I've protected them for 15 years because the alternative was worse. Who? Can't tell you. Not yet. Not until I know you're ready for what it means. Sienna's hands shook. More secrets, more lies. When does it end, Dominic? When the truth stops being dangerous. When knowing won't get you killed. Someone called me, Knox Sterling, wants to meet tonight, says he has answers about Dad. Dominic went rigid. Knox Sterling is a dead man. Terminal cancer, 4 months left. He blames me for his son's death. Whatever he's offering, it's poison. Then come with me. We meet him together. If I show up, people die. Sterling's been planning revenge for years. He's just been waiting for the right leverage. Me, you, Finn, Ma, anyone I care about. That's how this works. Sienna pulled away. I'm going, with or without you. I need answers, real ones, not half-truths designed to protect me. You go to Pier 47 alone, you don't come back. Then I don't come back. But at least I'll know the truth about my father. She walked out before he could stop her. At 7:45, Sienna took a cab to the warehouse district. The driver refused to go all the way in. Too dangerous after dark. She walked the last 6 blocks. Pier 47 materialized from shadows. Old meatpacking plant, hooks hanging from rafters like gallows. The smell of old blood never fully washed away. A man waited in the center. Wheelchair, oxygen tank, cancer eating him alive, but eyes sharp as broken glass. Knox Sterling. You came. Brave or stupid, maybe both. Sienna kept her distance, hand near the gun she'd taken from Dominic's study. You said you had answers. I do. But first, let's talk about what you want. Really want. Down where the truth lives. I want to know who killed my father. Maxwell Thorne did. We both know that. Question is, who told Maxwell that Patrick Ashworth was a cop? I don't understand. Knox smiled. Death's head grin. Your father had a partner, another cop working undercover, someone deeper in the organization, someone Maxwell trusted. Understanding crashed over her. Someone inside the family was dirty. Someone feeding Maxwell information. They found out about Patrick, told Maxwell, helped set up the kill, then covered it up when Maxwell died. Who? That's what you need to find out. Go back to Dominic, make him tell you. He knows. He's known for 15 years. Why would I trust you? Because I'm dying. Because revenge is all I have left. Because if you don't find the truth, Dominic will bury it forever. And your father's real killer walks free. Knox wheeled backward. 3 days, girl. Find me the name, or I start taking pieces off the board. Starting with your brother's new heart. Be a shame if something interrupted his recovery. He vanished into shadows. Sienna stood alone in the warehouse, gun heavy in her pocket. She called Dominic. He answered immediately. Where are you? Pier 47. Knox is gone. He threatened Finn. Security's already doubled at Northwestern. He makes a move. He dies. Get out of there. Now. Not until you tell me the truth. All of it. Who was the dirty cop? Who told Maxwell about Dad? Silence stretched. Come home, Sienna. I'll tell you everything. But not over the phone. Not where people can listen. She caught a cab back to Lake Forest. The drive felt eternal. Dominic met her at the door, led her to the library, poured bourbon for both of them. The dirty cop was Rebecca Chen, Nurse Hopkins before she married. She was Maxwell's insurance policy, deep cover for 8 years, feeding him information about police investigations. The nurse you fired after the attack. Yeah, she told Maxwell about Patrick. helped set up the warehouse meeting, was there when Maxwell tortured him for information about other undercover operations. Where is she now? Dead. Car accident 2 weeks after Maxwell died. Convenient timing. You killed her. I made sure she couldn't testify. Yeah, the admission sat between them like a third person. You've been protecting a ghost. I've been protecting Ma. Rebecca had dirt on the entire family. Her death meant that evidence died with her. Kept Ma from being implicated. Kept the operation running. Sienna drained her bourbon. Felt it burn. Knox wants the name. Says he'll hurt Finn if I don't give it to him. Knox is dying. Desperate. He'll hurt Finn regardless. That's why we end this. Tonight. How? Dominic pulled out his phone. Made a call. It's time. Pier 47. Midnight. Bring everyone. He hung up. What did you just do? Called Knox's bluff. He wants war. He gets war. But it ends tonight. One way or another. I'm coming with you. No. Yes. This is about my father. About Finn. About us. I'm done sitting on the sidelines while men make decisions about my life. Dominic studied her, saw the steel she'd hidden under compassion. Fine, but you follow my lead. You stay behind me. And if I tell you to run, you run. Understood? Understood. At 11:30, they left for the warehouse district. Reaper drove. 3 more vehicles followed. Armed men who'd die for Dominic without question. Pier 47 waited like an open grave. Knox Sterling sat in the center, surrounded by 40 men. Heavily armed, faces hidden, professional killers. Dominic and Sienna walked in alone, hands visible, no weapons showing. The hidden arsenal came later. Castellano brought the girl. Good, shows you care. Knox's voice rasped through oxygen-starved lungs. Let's make this simple, Sterling. You want revenge for your son. I get it. But Sienna's not part of this. Neither is Finn. You want me? Take me. Let them walk. Noble. Stupid. But noble. Knox gestured. 2 men dragged someone forward. Finn. Sienna's scream cut through the warehouse. No! Her brother was conscious, terrified, duct tape over his mouth. Took him from Northwestern an hour ago. Your security's good, Thorne, but mine's better. Now here's the deal. Sienna gives me the name of the cop who helped kill her father, or I put a bullet in the boy's new heart. Dominic's hand found Sienna's, squeezed, warning. The cop's dead, Knox. Rebecca Chen. Died 15 years ago. You want revenge on a ghost? Then I want you, on your knees, begging for the boy's life. Show me the mighty architect can bleed like everyone else. The warehouse erupted. Reaper and his team breached from 3 sides simultaneously. Flashbangs, smoke, chaos. Dominic shoved Sienna behind cover, returned fire with the gun he'd hidden in his ankle holster. Finn fell during the chaos. Sienna ran for him. Bullets chewing concrete. She reached him, cut the zip ties, ripped the tape off. Run! That door! She shoved him toward the exit. He stumbled, ran. Knox was screaming orders. His men were dying. Dominic's crew was better trained, better armed, better motivated. The firefight lasted 7 minutes. Felt like 7 hours. When the smoke cleared, Knox sat alone in his wheelchair, surrounded by bodies. Oxygen tank shattered. Gasping. Dominic approached. Gun aimed. You lose, Sterling. Like you always lose. Knox laughed. Wet. Dying. Check your phone, Thorne. Video. Just uploaded. You. Me. This whole thing. Sent to FBI, CPD, every media outlet in Chicago. You just killed 40 men on camera. Empire's over. Dominic's phone buzzed. Notification. Live stream. Millions of views already. The trap closed. Sienna appeared beside him. We run. Now. Together. Can't run from this. It's over. Then we face it. Together. Sirens wailed in the distance, coming fast. Dominic looked at Sienna, really looked, saw the woman who'd saved his mother, saved him, stood beside him when running was smarter. I love you. I love you too. Then trust me, one more time. He pulled out his phone, made a call. It's me. Execute contingency plan Omega. Yeah, everything. Do it now. Within minutes, the video disappeared from every platform. Scrubbed, deleted, replaced with 404 errors. The sirens stopped, turned away. Knox stared. Disbelief. How? Because I own the infrastructure, Sterling. The servers, the platforms, the people who run them. You can't destroy what I control from the ground up. Knox Sterling died laughing. Bitter, broken, alone. Dominic's crew cleaned up, made the bodies disappear, made the warehouse pristine. By dawn, no evidence remained except blood that sank into concrete too deep to scrub. They found Finn safe with one of Reaper's men, scared but unhurt. The three of them drove back to Lake Forest as the sun rose over Lake Michigan. What happens now? Sienna's question hung in the air. Now, we live. Ma gets to keep her son. Finn gets to grow up. You get to finish nursing school. We get to be together without ghosts trying to kill us. Morrison won't stop investigating. Morrison will get a new case, something bigger, something that makes her forget about Maxwell Thorne. I'm good at redirecting attention. They pulled through the estate gates. Home. Safe. Alive. Vivian was awake, lucid, waiting in the foyer. You came back. She hugged Dominic, then Sienna. I always come back, Ma. Good, I made lemon pancakes, like Mama used to make. Who wants breakfast? They sat in the dining room, four people who shouldn't work as a family, but somehow did. Vivian told stories. Finn laughed. Dominic relaxed fractionally. Sienna felt something like peace. Her phone buzzed. Text from unknown number. She opened it. Photo of her and Dominic from the warehouse. Different angle. Message below. You both lied to me. Now you both owe me. We'll be in touch. Morrison. Sienna deleted the text, looked at Dominic across the table. He saw her expression, raised an eyebrow in question. She shook her head. Later. They deal with Morrison later. For now, they had lemon pancakes. They had each other. They had a chance. The dead could rest. The living had earned their mourning. 6 months later, the Drake Hotel hosted another winter gala. Mr. Dominic Thorne and Miss Sienna Ashworth. The announcement echoed through the ballroom. 300 heads turned. Sienna descended the grand staircase in midnight blue Vera Wang, diamond necklace that had belonged to Dominic's grandmother. Hair swept up, confidence radiating. Dominic beside her in charcoal Tom Ford, looking only at her. The crowd parted, respectful, careful. They'd learned. Clarissa Montgomery stood in the corner, broken career, few allies. She flinched when Sienna approached. Mrs. Montgomery, Miss Ashworth, or is it Mrs. Thorne now? Not yet, but soon. Sienna smiled. No malice, just certainty. I forgive you for everything. Holding grudges is exhausting. I'd rather build than destroy. She walked on, left Clarissa staring. A young waitress struggled with a heavy tray. Sienna stopped. What's your name? Maria, ma'am. Sienna pulled a business card from her clutch. I run 12 nursing homes across Chicago. We need compassionate staff. $32 an hour, full benefits, tuition assistance. Call me Monday. Maria's eyes filled. Thank you so much. Dominic watched his future wife build an empire of loyalty, one person at a time. You're changing the game. Someone has to. Might as well be us. They danced, center of the ballroom. At Last by Etta James playing. Happy? Terrified. Happy. Building something good, yeah. That's life with me. I know, wouldn't change it. Across the room, Finn sat with friends from his new school. Healthy, thriving, living the life Patrick Ashworth had died trying to protect. Vivian sat in the VIP section, lucid enough to smile, to recognize her son, to be proud. Detective Morrison watched from the bar, notebook open, writing, waiting. The investigation would never truly end, but tonight wasn't about endings. Tonight was about choosing love over revenge, building over destroying, the living over the dead. Sienna and Dominic Thorne danced under crystal chandeliers. Two people from opposite sides of Chicago's war. Two people who chose each other despite every reason not to. The music swelled. The city watched. The future waited. And for the first time in either of their lives, the future looked like something worth fighting for. Not perfect, never perfect, but theirs. Together. Real. That was enough. That was everything.